Sup peeps, it's Kudo here. You know, I'll be honest with you guys. I've kind of been feeling a little tired, mentally. Mostly just from life in general, but, it's not fair to you guys. Okay, it's not fair that you guys have to wait every month or two to get an upload from me talking about my projects. So I'm gonna make it up for it by introducing you to every project I've made by drawing the main protagonists from each of them. However, there will be some exceptions such as the Kudo 108 show and fantasy arrangement because not only did I draw the main characters already, but I've also explained what they're all about. So let's start with the project whose main character I already drew, but didn't even tell you the name of the project. That's right! That is the official name of the project that my character Liz is from, Starlight Horizons. Although I made some more changes to the overall plot and story, so I'll just draw her again while giving you a brief rundown on what's going on in Starlight Horizons. Starlight Horizons is about people who were born with or develop superpowers they call gifts. Not everyone in this world has gifts though. You know Liz, right? She's a trans woman. She's one of the few people who has no powers. She's rambunctious, but also has a heart of gold. So she isn't afraid to stand up against bullies with gifts, even though she gets scuffed up pretty often. One day, she stumbled across an injured inhuman getting mugged by thugs, so she stepped up to help her out. Of course, she nearly gets her ass handed to her at first, because these thugs also have gifts, but Liz was cunning. She figured out their patterns, and a few decks in the face is enough to take them out. The Inhuman, who introduced herself as Angeline, thanks her and suddenly gave her a fancy-looking glove. She explains that the gem in the middle is made out of a super rare mineral filled with an ancient power. She's been trying to keep it from the corrupt corpos who want this mineral for their nefarious needs, so she entrusts the glove to Liz. So now that Liz technically has powers now, she decides to call her gift Starlight, and forms a team to take out evil corpos and other gifted folks corrupted with greed and power. The Adventures of Ushiro is a video game concept I made about the main character, Ushiro, going on a quest to free his homeland from the clutches of evil. I haven't really figured out the story quite yet, but since this is a video game concept I made, I will say it's an action platformer. Think the subspace emissary from Smash Bros. Brawl and side-scrolling Mario games and combine the two. You'll get to do combo moves on enemies and stuff. Ushiro himself is a blue bunny rabbit who is playful and caring by nature, but will put on his serious face when facing against enemies that threaten his friends and his homeland. Bully is a more darker project, also a video game concept. The story follows an unfortunate fellow who was trying to provide for his family until a corrupt mafia group barged into his house and demanded their cut of the money because the protag owes them. When he gave them all the money he had, the mafia group deemed it not enough, so they killed the man on the spot along with his family. They then proceeded to burn all their bodies until there was nothing left but ash. Except for the protag's skull. The skull was all that remained. His spirit refused to move on, so he possessed his own skull and came back as a vengeful spirit to settle the score with these mafia thugs for ruining his life. He lost memories of his own name, so he just goes by Skullboy. The gameplay would play like a shoot-'em-up, kind of like Metroid and Mega Man. Skullboy here will collect new weapons and store them in his hammer space to use later. He can even imbue them with ghostly powers for extra damage. Skullboy here takes shit from absolutely no one. He's careless and is tolerable to those he allies with. Maybe even a little goofy at times. He prefers to be the shooty bang bang type, but he isn't afraid to throw hands as well. Okay, I think it's about time I talk about the overall plot of Combat Breakers. So, in this fighting game concept, a meteorite has fallen in the middle of an open field, and when locals went to investigate, they found a heart-shaped green crystal in a crater. Before the locals could even touch it, the crystal started glowing, and in almost an instant, the field quickly grew into an overgrown forest. The overgrowth was so intense that it spread and started destroying nearby towns. With the overgrowth spreading and the whole region affected, fighters from the neighboring cities go to investigate the overgrowth. Some fighters go to prevent the growth from spreading any further, while others go to investigate the green crystal that locals call the Heart of Mother Nature, for their own goals. overthink it is a weird concept I made. So this time, this follows 3 characters, all living under the same household as roommates. They all just graduated high school, and they're all just living life. That is, until they started encountering strange anomalies. Lots of crazy stuff, but for some reason they don't seem all that fazed by them. They kind of just deal with them and then go back to living their lives. Hence the name. Alright, that's all the projects I have for now. I don't know what I'll do with them yet, but if you enjoy this video, be sure to like and comment, and of course, subscribe. And there's even a new feature where you can hype up this video, so my videos can be seen more, you know? And of course, share this video with your friends from all around the world, and as always, I will see you when I see you. Later!